Hi, welcome back on my channel. I hope that you're all doing great. I hope that you're all doing better than me. No, I'm joking, kinda. The reason why I wanted to record this video today was to give you some updates with my current situation since I'm back in France. So the last video that I recorded was in Spain. Straight from Australia, I went to Spain for 2 weeks to meet my family for a week, then it was on my own. That trip was amazing. I really enjoyed it. Within a couple of days, all my eczema was gone. My mental health was already so much better. Not gonna lie, I did have also really high expectations from that trip because I thought that managing to lower my stress, being in a different environment, not having to work and being able to rest a little bit more was also going to help with my back. Unfortunately, it did not help. So coming back from Spain, I started to see all the specialists because that is the main reason why I flew back to Europe. So if you've watched the video, not the last one but the one before, I was explaining you everything about what's been happening to me this year with my back injury in May and the struggles that I was going through with my skin, with my mental health, financial struggles, whatever. I was also telling you that after that trip in Spain, I was going to fly to France to get second opinion on my back, see if they had different ways to go about it compared to the doctors, physios, chiros and neurosurgeons that I've seen previously in Australia. So I'm currently at my parents' house. This is the bedroom that I grew up in, hence all the medals and trophies and everything from my gymnastics era. They live in Brinkheim. It's in Alsace. You're probably not gonna understand any of these words. I'm a country girl, if you can't tell. So half of my time I'm here at my parents' house and the other half I am in Strasbourg, which is my hometown. So this is where I was born and half of my family is still in Strasbourg. The main reason why I'm doing this is because here in this area there's not much going on, and in Strasbourg this is where I have all my doctors. To explain you the process that I've been through since I came back from Spain. I came back end of October, like a month ago, and the following week I went to the GP, which is the first person that you have to see in order to start the process again. I explained to him all the things that I've done in Australia, so all the x-rays, MRIs, steroid injection and all the specialists that I've seen. The first thing he said was, I am surprised that you haven't done the surgery yet, because apparently in France, with the symptoms and the pain that I was experiencing, normally they make you have the surgery straight away. So that was a bit of a shock, not gonna lie, because it's been 7 months now. And then he started to ask questions about my mental health, and I was telling him, oh well, I'm literally coming out of depression because thanks to Spain I could feel that my mental health was getting much better. He also said, I'm not surprised that you are struggling with depression because your nervous system is that triggered from you being in pain for that long that this can cause depression. So I realized that maybe I wasn't even depressed, maybe that was just my nervous system. And he was like, okay, well, we are going to redo the whole process. So you book with the neurosurgeon in France. He gave me some names. He also said, in the meantime, you have to do a new MRI. And he also gave me a script to get some painkillers, really strong ones. Morphine, which I have 2 types. I've got a slow acting one, which I'm meant to take one at night, one in the day. And I also have the fast acting one, which is during the day, you take it every 2 hours. And on top of that, he also gave me some Xanax, which is good for depression, anxiety, helping you to relax. In Australia at the start, they did give me some really strong painkillers. I was taking codeine, but after a month they took me off everything because you can't keep using these meds for too long. It's not good for your mental health. It's not good either for your digestive system. When I said that to my GP in France, he was like, yes, Laurie, but the thing is that you've been in pain for so long that you are now getting used to this amount of pain that you're experiencing, and we don't want this to become your new norm. On top of that, even if you can handle the amount of pain that you're currently having, this can still affect your mental health, create depression. So coming out, I had my script for the meds, I had a script for physio, my referral to do the MRI and my referral to see the neurosurgeon. So now, the great thing about France is that when you're French and you've got the carte vitale, everything is pretty much free, or like a big part is covered. But the fact that everything is pretty much free is also the reason why all the healthcare system is very slow. Probably because many people take the piss and use the fact that it's pretty much free to see a doctor every single day. So for the MRI, I had it 3 weeks after, and that was after I called a bunch of different centers to see which one had the earliest appointment. And same struggles to find the appointment with the neurosurgeon, because same thing, they all had crazy delays. I had my appointment for the 19th of December, which is in a month from now. And that is me going private because I said I'm happy to pay for the appointment. But if I was to say I want to go through the public system, then my appointment would have been in January next year. So yes, Australia is very expensive, but when I had to see the neurosurgeon in Australia, I had my appointment for the following week. So 2 months wait to see the neurosurgeon, and that is me going through private. Even if I go through private, it's still way cheaper than if I was to go private in Australia. So in the meantime, I saw a couple of different physios since I'm here. The first one was terrible. It didn't work well. Finding a physio, it's hard. It's like finding a coach. You have to find a person that you vibe with, and also someone who knows what they're doing. And to me, it felt like this person did not know what she was doing. She was causing me more pain than if I didn't go to her appointments. My physio in Australia, he was amazing. That was a physio who was specialized with the spine and with athletes as well. So he 100% knew what he was doing, and I had full trust in him. But that chick in France, she was not specialized in the back, she was not specialized in sports. As I said, I'm from the countryside, so there's not many options around here. I'm not very experienced with this kind of stuff. I don't think they had many cases like myself before. Anyways, one of my friends who's also struggling with a hernia recommended me his physio that I'm seeing currently once a week, and he's great. He knows his stuff. He does a mix of pretty much what they were doing to me in Australia. He moves the disc to free up some space, to decompress the nerve. Then he also massages me, my back, my shoulder, because my shoulder is a bit of a mess as well. So even though I did as fast as I could to book these appointments, I'm now in the process of I just have to wait, which is frustrating, but there's not much I can do. I'm also on a bunch of waiting lists for different neurosurgeons. In case if there's cancellations, well, they know they can call me. And in the meantime, the only thing I can do is taking my meds, focusing on my recovery, being patient, and obviously make the most out of my trip here, which means spending time with family, spending time with friends and everything. Anyways, coming back in time, I did the MRI of the cervical spine, which is the one that I already did in Australia in May. A couple of days after, I got the results. I don't really know what I was expecting. I don't really know what they were expecting as well, but basically the two MRIs, they're pretty much the same. The hernia is still there. To me, it even seems like the hernia is a little bit bigger. Maybe it's just my perception, or maybe it's two different types of MRIs, and the one that they did in France is a little bit clearer. I don't know. And on the report, it says there are some damages between C4 and C7 with a hernia C6, C7, which is basically what they said in Australia already. So I was like, yes, well, it's nothing new. I already know what I'm dealing with, but at least I've got this new MRI because I know that the surgeon that I will see in December will ask for the most recent one. Now, if you've watched my last video in Marbella, I was telling you that I was back into training upper with some sort of intensity. So that was the last updates that I basically gave you. It's a little bit different now. Coming back from Spain, my neck was actually not too bad, and in my head it was like, that's great, it seems like things are heading in the right direction. With the hernia I can start to see some progress, but my shoulder was a little bit funky, to the point where my physio was mainly treating my shoulder and not my hernia anymore. He was doing a little bit of manipulation on the disc at the start, but the rest of the session, which was more than half an hour, he would spend it on my shoulder. It's been there from the start. If you've watched my very first video, the one where I explained how I got injured, I was telling you that first thing that I thought was that I dislocated my shoulder. I wasn't even talking about my neck. What I was experiencing, what I'm still experiencing, is a pain under the armpits. This is where I feel a nerve bouncing, which I think it's a nerve. I feel pain here on my chest, which appears to be like a muscle pain, but I know it's not because I don't train chest. Pain in the traps, pain all around the scapula. Alongside with the pain, a really cold hand, as if I had bad circulation in my arm. Sometimes heat waves, some pins and needles down the arm, and a feeling of a very heavy arm, as if I had just trained shoulder, even though I had 4 days break. When I was telling that to my physio, he was like, I don't think that what you experience in your shoulder is related to what's happening in your neck. He was like, to me, it looks like it's two different things, which is also something that my masseur, the guy that I was seeing in Sydney, had said to me before. The massage was an hour long with Eli, and he would spend a good half an hour as well on this shoulder, just because I always have weird muscle pain all around the shoulder, teres major, teres minor, lats, all this area is always really painful. One day he was moving my shoulder, he asked me to go on my belly. I flipped on my tummy, he grabbed my right arm but like very gently, and he was holding my shoulder at the same time, and we both felt a pop, but like a decent one, not as in sometimes you hear little cracks. It wasn't like that, it was a proper pop. When he did that, he said to me, "Laurie, do you realize that I've just popped your shoulder back in place?" From that moment onwards, Eli already said to me, "There is something a little bit off with your shoulder. I think you should get it checked." Because I thought that the pain that I was experiencing in the shoulder was related to the hernia, I wasn't really worried about it. I started to worry coming back from Spain. As I was telling you before, the hernia was getting better, so me at the gym, full of ambition and excited, I started to incorporate exercises that I haven't done in a very long time, such as Romanian deadlifts. Some people have tried to prevent me from doing Romanians, but I'm pretty stubborn. I can be a naughty kid sometimes, and RDLs is my all-time favorite exercise, so I didn't listen until something happens. I was training legs. I did a set of RDLs at the Smith's machine. I just felt like the bar was much heavier than what it was the previous week. It was the exact same load, 40 kg. As I was bending over, I felt a pop in the shoulder. I don't really know if the whole shoulder went forward or anything. I was still holding the bar, so it's just like, it's weird, but it's fine. It's only the day after, when I woke up with a really sore shoulder, that I realized that once again my shoulder went up. That was approximately 2.5 weeks ago. The day after that session, I thought I'm just going to have a couple of days off and we'll see how it goes. It just didn't get better. I saw my physio a couple of days after, and he said to me, "Laura, you should get it checked." So went back to the GP. Gave me the script to do the MRI. I was just hoping to get in to do the MRI before I see the surgeon. Lucky me, when I called, they said, "Oh, we just had a cancellation, can you come in on Friday?" Which was literally 2 days after. I did the MRI, I had the results 2 days after. In the report, they said that I have bursitis, which is an inflammation, but I don't know, it's not the main problem, because bursitis, I had it already in May when they did the CT scan of the shoulder in Sydney, and the bursitis is just an inflammation, so chances are that it's a consequence of what the actual problem is. All the symptoms that I have at the moment seems like something is not aligned that causes all these injuries that I have. Monday, when I went back to the gym, I did upper body for my first session, and as I was doing some lat pull down, supinated grip, I had to stop in the middle of the sets because my biceps felt like it was about to snap. So to me, everything is related. The biceps injury, the neck injury, the shoulder injury, there's something out of work in my body that is causing all these problems to happen. And I feel like we need to find out what's out of alignment in order for me to stop getting injured, instead of having to work around, find out what's actually wrong so I can get back to a normal life and get back to do the things that I love, aka training. Anyways, I went back to training Monday, and I trained Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. This week, our training felt unbelievable. I was pretty much pain-free. My shoulder was completely fine. My neck, pretty much no pain. Sometimes we should not talk that fast. I should touch food more often as well. But if you've watched my stories on Instagram this way, I was sharing all the sessions that I did, and I was writing things such as, "First session pain-free. I feel like I'm being myself again." Thursday, so a couple of days ago, I was training and that session felt fine. But towards the second half of the session, I could feel that my body was slowly giving up on me. And I was like, you know what, it's fine. I've been training hard for 4 days. I'm going to have tomorrow off just so I can reset, and I'll be back in the gym on Friday. What happened? Dad picked me up. We went to have lunch together. We sat down at the table and I started to be like, I don't know, there's something weird. I feel like my back has to click. When I moved my head towards the left side, I was like, ew, that feels really weird. No pain at that stage. I was just like, that does not feel right. And as I brought my head back up, I felt a pop in the hernia. Literally C6, C7, I freaked out. I was scared to move because I was like, what did I just do? All afternoon I was like, me, it's getting sore. I could not move as much as usual. The colder I was getting, the more pain I started to get. I was like, this is not good. I went for a couple of drinks with friends from gymnastics at night. Went to bed. In the middle of the night, I woke up and I was completely stuck. Could not move my head. That was yesterday. I woke up in the most horrible pain. Obviously, I decided not to train. I took my meds, took a boiling hot bath. I'm doing heat packs, anti-inflammatory creams. Now it's day 2 since it popped because we are Saturday and it's still the exact same amount of pain. I'm still completely stuck. I feel like it's maybe 1% better, but it's not good. I can tell that something happens. The reason why I'm really worried now is because since I got injured in May, I have been dealing with flare-ups. But I can kind of tell when I'm going to have a flare-up because I pushed a little bit too hard during a session and I'm like, this one is going to hurt tomorrow. And indeed, for 2 or 3 days after, I feel discomfort. It's not crazy. This flare-up that I'm dealing with, I'm praying that this is just what it is, and I hope that I did not need something worse. I'm not a specialist, so I don't know if I can have another hernia on top of a hernia. I don't know what that pop was. But yeah, I'm praying that this is going to last a couple of weeks and that I will see some improvements after that. But I'm really scared because this is nothing like the previous flare-ups that I've experienced. You're probably wondering, oh, well, why is she doing this video telling us that it's literally gone back to square one? Well, because I wanted to be open and honest, and I wanted to document this whole journey with you guys, just so you know that I'm not a robot, I'm human. With the last few posts that I shared on Instagram, many people were reaching out telling me, oh my god, how are you doing to deal with the injury? I'm dealing with something similar and I'm really struggling, I can't train. Everyone thinks not that I'm better than them, but they want to know what's my secret hack. Me sharing this right now, that's the truth, that's just what I'm experiencing at the moment. I'm really scared, frustrated, upset, because it feels like I'm gone back to square one. By saying that, the symptoms that I'm experiencing at the moment are pretty much the same as at the start. I start to have tingles. These 2 fingers I had issues with the first couple of months, but then it left. And that's also why when I was telling you that the previous flare-ups that I've dealt with, I was kind of confident in a way that it was just temporary. I knew that the inflammation was not as big as what it was at the start. It's as if these 2 fingers for me, it's my way to monitor how bad the situation actually is. Because to me, if the inflammation, the ball that pressures the nerve, is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, eventually it will compress that nerve, which is going to give me these weird symptoms in my fingers. But as long as these 2 fingers are fine, it means that the inflammation is not as big as what it was in the past. So the fact that now these 2 fingers start to be funky again means that the inflammation is pretty bad and it's probably back to how it was at the start. Obviously, there's not much I can do. It's Saturday today, so I could go to the emergency, but what's the point? Because I already have the appointments with the neurosurgeon booked. They're probably going to say there's not much we can do. I'm going to try to call the neurosurgeon on Monday and see if they can sneak me in before, which I have zero hope for. I've got the morphine and it really helps. It's just that I don't want to have to rely on these meds for too long because it's just hiding the pain, but it's not fixing the actual problem. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to see the surgeon. I want him to give me the answers. I want to know what I'm dealing with and what's the best way to go about it, because I have been struggling with this injury for 7 months. And I don't want to keep living this way. I want to regain trust in my body and its ability to recover. I don't want to be constantly dealing with flare-ups. I want to get back in that stage where I'm in control, where I'm not scared to push hard or scared to do certain movements. In the meantime, I'm going to be really cautious, which, as you know, is probably the hardest thing for me, because yeah, I just tend to not ignore the pain. It's just that I probably can't handle the pain too well. I'm used to pushing hard, so it's hard for me to differentiate good pain, bad pain. It's hard for me to know when to stop. As I was telling you, I could feel that something was a little bit off during that second half of the session, but I didn't stop. I was just like, oh, I'm going to push through and finish it, and I will have tomorrow off. So it's as if I am somehow conscious that something is off, but I don't make the decision until it's too late or until it's too far gone that I should have stopped before. So it's definitely something that I will have to keep working on. I still have a month before I see the surgeon, so I will use this time to practice what I teach. When it comes to me, it's freaking hard. When I'm coaching clients, it's so easy to have an external look at the situation and give the right advice. Tell them, don't train today, don't do this exercise if you feel like it's uncomfortable. When it comes to me, I'm just like, until it's too late. So yeah, I'm going to have a few days off, keep going on walks, do things that help with my mental health, heat packs, hot bath, massages, until I manage to see the surgeon. If I can get back to the gym, I will probably stick to lower body only for the time being. Also, something else that really sucks. This weekend, I was actually meant to book my flights, return back to Sydney. The plan was to spend a few days between Christmas and New Year's with my dad in Istanbul, because I usually fly with Turkish Airways. It's been a few times that I transit through this airport and I've never seen Istanbul. So instead of just having a 3 hours layover, I wanted to spend a few days in Istanbul. Because yeah, the mindset that I was in before I had that flare up, the one that knocked me out a couple of days ago, was everything is going so much better. My neck is pretty much pain-free. My shoulder, I know that it's just an inflammation. I can kind of deal with it. So it's time for me to fly back to Australia. With this flare-up happening a couple of days ago, obviously everything has changed. I'm not able to book my flights return for end of December, considering the fact that I have no idea what I'm dealing with my neck. So that changes everything. I'm gutted, I'm really pissed off, because I really thought that I was going to fly back to Sydney soon. As much as I love Europe, this is not my life. My life is just on hold at the moment. Australia is my home. I want to go back home. I was really looking forward to fly back to Australia end of the month, to get back to some sort of a routine, go back to work, see my friends. It's also summer in Australia, and here in France it's -2 degrees. It was snowing this morning, so yeah. But I'm really trying to stay positive. Everything happens for a reason. That flare-up happening a couple of days ago, right after I said that this weekend we were going to book our flights. It's not random. It's probably because it was meant to happen now, so I don't book these flights. I think what I'm the most sad about is having to cancel that little getaway with my dad, because the relationship I have with my dad is very particular. Getting emotional now. It's been only a year that we've reconnected, and the fact that he offered coming to Istanbul meant so much to me. So I was really looking forward for that daughter and that trip. It's not gonna happen, and that's heartbreaking, because Australia is not gonna go anywhere. I've got a permanent residency, so I can fly back whenever. You're not getting opportunities to create memories like that with your family often. I'm just hoping that we will have other opportunities to do something like that together. That's basically the updates for my back. Despite the fact that I'm really struggling with my current injury, I must say that I'm okay mentally. The rest of my health is slowly getting back on track. My health markers are getting restored. I got some bloods done a couple of weeks ago, and everything is pretty much back to normal. My T4, my thyroid, was a little bit lower than normal, which could also have an impact on depression and everything. That's probably because, you know, I'm exhausted from life, or just because 2025 has been very exhausting. But my health otherwise is getting back on track. I got my period back a couple of weeks ago, which I was really happy with, because I haven't had them since June or July. To me, it's a massive thing, because I now know that I want to be a mom. Before I flew back to France, I saw a gynecologist because I was scared that I was not able to have kids naturally. Back then we ran some tests, some bloods, and ultrasound as well of my ovaries. They found cysts on my ovaries. We kept on doing more tests, and they found out that I have endometriosis, which by itself is already going to make it harder for me to have kids naturally. But on top of that, the fact that I was not having my period, which was probably linked to years of anorexia, bulimia, bodybuilding, gymnastics as well, delays the period. I had my period really late. So for me, getting my period back is such a sign of we are healthier, we are better, we are getting back on track. And if you keep going like that, you will be able to have babies naturally. There's also another topic topic that I wanted to discuss with you guys because it's something that has happened to me a couple of weeks ago. I was training in Strasbourg. A guy rocked up to me, and it's a guy that I haven't seen since the year before. Remind you guys, the year before I was pretty shredded. It was before my biceps injury, before my back injury. But basically, I have not seen that guy since a year. When he saw me, he said to me, "Are you aware that you now have cellulite on your hammies?" I wasn't even upset because it's a fact. I'm aware of it. I don't really care. With this injury that I'm dealing with at the moment, it completely changes my perspective on my physique, on the goals that I have. I don't know, I feel like I'm entering a different chapter of my life where I'm less focused on performance and I'm more focused on I want to be healthy, be able to have a family of my own. Also something else, yes, me holding on to more body fat in my lower half means that I have a bit of cellulite, but for me it also means that I'm more feminine because my whole life I've been a gymnast. So my whole life I've been upper body dominant. In high school my nickname was the truck driver because that was my shape. Now, remind you, I had 2 back-to-back injuries located on my upper body. I've been pretty much hammering my legs for a year. My legs have grown and my upper body has melted away. So now I have a more balanced physique, feminine physique. Personally, I don't mind having a bit more body fat in my legs, having a bit of cellulite. I find it feminine, I find it sexy. It's not something that I see on other women and I'm like, ew, it's just normal. I'm now not a teenager anymore. I'm now maybe not an athlete anymore. I'm aspiring to become someone's partner, a mom. Everything has shifted in my head this year and it hasn't happened like that overnight. That was a month of work that I had to do on myself because since I got injured, one of the main reasons why I was struggling with depression was the loss of identity. Because if I'm not a bodybuilder, if I'm not an athlete, if I'm not a coach, who the fuck am I? So me facing the camera and saying this out loud is after a month of putting in the work to find out what do I aspire to become. Don't get me wrong, I'm not giving up on being an athlete because I've been an athlete my whole life and low-key I would still love to jump on stage to do a pro show. That's still one of my main goals. It's just that if that doesn't happen, it's not the end of the world. I'm too much of a perfectionist to let myself go, not be fit anymore. It's just too important for me to have a nice body and to keep working on it. I'm not saying this in a superficial way. I think that having a fit body is a proof of someone who's not scared to put in the work. It shows discipline. That's just my way to see things. So I will always be fit. I'm never going to be able to say YOLO, eat whatever and turn into a couch potato. That's just not who I am. I'm also obsessed with sports. But with the injury and all that work that I had to do on finding who I am, finding who I want to be, feeling aligned again with myself, with my values, with my principles, I start to feel in my gut that I have now new goals. Also something else that has made me shift towards that new chapter of my life was meeting my nephew. I'm obsessed with my nephew. If you've watched my last vlog in Spain, I met Madi, which is obviously the son of my sister, for the first time, and he's the loveliest. He's gorgeous. He doesn't cry. I've never ever felt inside of me the need or the want to become a mom. I'm surrounded with many girls my age that are already moms. I've always felt a little bit behind because my goals were always so different to them. I've always wanted to be an athlete, jump on the pro stage. I wanted to achieve this and that, career-wise, business, goals and everything. So me being a mom was definitely not on the cards. It was not in my plans whatsoever. But since I met Madi, everything has changed. I fell in love with this baby. Also, I think seeing my sister, watching them together, feels like this is the most important thing in life. When I see how she behaves with him, I'm like, this is the most beautiful thing ever. This is the sense of life. This is our purpose as human beings. This is true love. This is so genuine. Me being around them feels so relaxing. Even me being alone with Madi, holding him against me, it's such like a stress relief therapy. Probably also because babies can feel your stress. So when I'm around him, I'm really trying to lower my stress. But even without noticing it, so that shifted inside of me. I feel like I'm a whole different human being now compared to who I was in May. I don't know if you can feel it, but I feel so much more at peace, aligned. I was telling you in my previous videos that I've always been experiencing really high stress. Now, even though I still don't have the answers in regards to my back, even though I can't move my head, even though I'm in the worst pain ever, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling happy, I'm feeling confident. I know that worst case scenario, even if the surgeon tells me in December that the injury that I'm dealing with is career ending, I'll be fine, because yeah, I've got different goals, and I now know that stepping on stage or getting a pro card is not going to provide me the amount of happiness that I would ever get by finding love, having kids. I've competed for years and years in gymnastics. I won many titles. I got my pro card. These achievements, yes, they give you so much happiness and you're proud of yourself. It's temporary. You work so hard to achieve that thing, and once that you've achieved it, that's it. Then you work towards the next thing, because there's always the next thing. But what else can give you more happiness and more purpose in life than having your own family, building your safe place? Nothing. And also something that I'm now aware compared to before I got injured, me being back into bodybuilding is not going to happen unless I'm 100% sure that this is not going to have any negative impact on my ability to have kids in the future. When I'll fly back in Sydney, first thing I have to do is to see my gynecologist again, because right before I left I did some bloods, check my egg counts, so I will have to go and pick up that results, because if my egg counts is low, I will have to freeze some and probably go through IVF. I know many people who had to go through this procedure. It's not the end of the world, but this would be my main priority. Me being healthy, me being back on track, me being able to have kids is now more important than competing again. This is currently where I'm at, physically, mentally, with my injury, with my goals, with my future and everything. So yeah, that was the updates. I will keep you posted with everything. Hopefully I will give you some more answers after I see the surgeon. I'm going to end this video here. I hope that you enjoyed watching this video. If that's the case, remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in another video. In the meantime, take care. Bye peeps.